So welcome everybody to the Peralta Online Equity Conference, discussion 8A, Possibility and Perils of AI on Educational Equity with Elena Martinez at Los Angeles Trade Tech College in California, as well as Kimberly King with Laney College in California. Thanks to the presenters and thanks for everyone being here today.
All right, well, I will share my screen then. Thank you everybody for coming. Uh-oh, where's the screen share thing? Okay, there it is. There we go.
Good afternoon, everybody.
All right, so I'm Kimberly, and as we introduced, I teach at Laney College and in the psychology department, and I also was previously the coordinator of the Umoja program, which is a Black Student Success program, and my colleague Maria.
Hi, my name is Maria Martinez. I teach history at LA Trade Tech, and I'm the student advisor, the faculty advisor for the student club Mecha on campus. Welcome.
Yeah. So we're excited that you all are here and we're excited to have a discussion. It is a critical moment in AI's transformation of education. And for our students, for educationally disadvantaged students, AI brings both opportunities and risks. I'm sure people have been talking about that throughout the conference. And today we're going to talk about a little bit more from various perspectives, and we look forward to hearing from everybody. So a couple of questions to throw out at the beginning is who controls AI? And what does that matter? How is AI impacting our students? How is it impacting their instructors, us? How might it impact their future job prospects and careers? And we want to take a perspective of critical hope, recognize both the potential of AI to address inequities, but also its capacity to deepen inequities. And so just one little thing I wanted to start with is the origins of AI, just a little bit, and kind of who controls it. So academia, AI started as academic research, funded mostly by universities and the federal government. That was in the 50s. By the 2010s, though, the tech giants really began heavily investing in AI research. And really, we're at the point right now where it's pretty much totally controlled by private corporations. The most powerful generative AI tools are designed, developed, and controlled by the large tech corporations like Google and OpenAI. And in 2024, nearly 90% of the notable AI models come from private industry, as opposed to universities or college or government. So we still want to stay critically hopeful, but we do want to think, what are the implications of the privately owned corporate control of AI for equity? Well, remaining critically hopeful, there are benefits potentially for our students. And two of the big ones are personalized learning support. AI can be like a tutor, 24 hours, 7 days a week, explaining concepts, etc. It can help with writing, etc. And for students that are maybe intimidated by their professor or tutors, it can really make a difference. And also skills for the workforce. Over the past 8 years, hiring of AI talent in LinkedIn has increased by 323%. So it's really a helpful skill. However, the risks and challenges for equity are, we know the digital divide enhances inequity. That's been studied quite a bit. One of the biggest challenges that I've noticed is AI replacing learning, and that concerns me for our disadvantaged students. Students who supplant learning with AI are missing the development of critical skills and knowledge, and they've already missed that from their inadequate K through 12 education. And so then it's being reinforced. And corporate marketing may encourage that with, calling it homework helpers and downplaying the problems of AI, including plagiarism. We know there's algorithmic bias. There's been a lot of good research on that. And but there's ways to design prompts that can kind of make it lower. And then the environmental impact, of course, of AI, the water and energy it takes that does affect disadvantaged communities disproportionately. And so in particular, the learning replacement is concerning given that our students have experienced other ways of not getting adequate learning through budget cuts, COVID-19, the current mental health crisis. I'd like to turn it over to Maria.
Hi, thanks for that, Kimberly. So I just wanted to mention that obviously we're bringing our teaching experience to this discussion, but also our background in social science, right? So we're going to step back a little bit and do some of that analysis that Kimberly has started us on. And so I will talk a little bit about the impact of AI on faculty and teaching, again, using this kind of benefits and challenge model. Some of the benefits I hope some of us have already experienced is that it can help create lesson plans and assignments and rubrics, and it can help us develop more engaging content that allows us to tailor to diverse learning needs. We can curate sources that are broader perhaps than the sources we have been exposed to so far. There's also talk about it freeing up time, right, by helping us with these tasks. And that ideally this time would be time that we could use to more directly support disadvantaged students. At the same time, some of these challenges can take back some of that time, right? Because learning and staying current with AI and all technology is time consuming and certainly increases our workload. Having to rethink our assignments so that we can train students on the ethical use of AI so it doesn't replace learning. We're probably in the best position to do that. I know in the short term, some of us are still trying to detect AI in assignments where we have decided we didn't want students to use AI and we know all the problems. The AI detectors are not accurate and in fact can harm the faculty-student relationship. And of course, you know, whether it's AI proofing or AI enhancing assignments, that is also an additional, not only consumes the time to do it, but the time to get us trained, right, to do it properly. And finally, this concern that jobs are being replaced by automation and AI, potentially faculty and tutors and other academic professionals. I know under the current budget situation, many districts have already said that as faculty retire, they will not be replaced. And we're certainly concerned that technology and AI is an incentive, right, for that to continue. So as educators committed to AI, we think that we should really ensure that AI serves the needs of students and be really wary of the corporate interests and profit-making motive that some of these companies that own and control AI have. So for instance, and the same as we do with other corporations like publishing, right? We had this concern around publishing companies and other tech companies like Canvas, which also was started by graduate students in a university setting back in 2008, and by now has been sold over many times over, including the recent acquisition by a global investment firm who paid $4.8 billion for the company that owns Canvas. So in this last few minutes, we do want to raise this critical big question that is this technology too powerful to remain in the hands of billionaires? Historian and author of the bestseller book Sapien predicts the rise of a useless class as a result of AI and automation. And we know that the debate around universal basic income is also based on the idea that there will not be enough jobs for everyone. And also the how fast AI is developing and changing. Some of us might have started to read about agentic AI, which is a new form of AI with even more capabilities, including being to independently solve complex problems and take actions. So everybody's talking, right, about these agents as assistants, right? So I'll finish up with some implications, not just for our students, but indeed the world. The World Economic Forum predicts that 50% of the workforce will require reskilling by 2030. That automation is set to displace up to 92 million jobs worldwide. And billionaire wealth has risen 3 times faster in 2024 than it did in 2023, according to Oxfam. And the same report says that in less than a decade, we will have at least 5 trillionaires. So AI and automation seems to be replacing jobs at a faster rate than it is creating them, which is gutting the middle class that our students aspire to join as a result of all of their efforts and educational endeavors. And I think this is the definition of inequality. So to bring it back to the classroom, the efforts that we use to use AI and improve equity in our classrooms will be limited if we don't understand these broader realities. So I'd like to kind of open the discussion and open it in, how we're dealing with it in our classroom, but also these broader implications about, how do we ensure that technology serves human needs rather than profits, and the kind of technology where our students are empowered rather than displaced. Kimberly, do you want to facilitate some of the questions we have prepared?
Sure. So we just have these 6 questions, but anything you all would like to bring up and talk about, these are the questions that we had prepared relating to, what do you see as the harm and benefits for our students, for especially marginalized students, low income students from historically disadvantaged backgrounds. Has AI increased your teaching workload or decreased it? How do you handle AI use in student work? Do you have policies? And has this impacted your relationships with students? Where do you draw the line between AI as learning and AI that bypasses learning? How do you think AI will transform the teaching profession? And should AI be privately or publicly controlled? Does it matter? So we'd like to open it up. Who would like to get started? Are you all?
I can speak up
Yeah, Jenny.
and just say that AI in my classes I still don't know really what to do about it, because I'm an ESL teacher, and it's made I see a huge difference between my students before AI and my students now with AI. They're all using it, and I have a policy not to use it because they need to develop their own language, their thinking in English language. But and I see the benefits in integrating AI for students, like teaching them how to use it to, as a support, but I haven't done that. But they're using it anyways. And I see it really supplanting their thinking and affecting, I don't know what it is, but something's affecting their ability to make structured language, as in like paragraphs. They can make these really beautiful robot language, robot sentences with vocabulary I don't even use, and these are, language learners. And but they seem to not get things like topic sentence, supporting ideas, concluding sentence, and then the whole structure of the essay. So I think that's because maybe they're not thinking in the language or thinking about how to, critically build things in the
Mhm.
language because AI is doing that for them now. So they're kind of missing that important, those important skill developments. As you said earlier, that some skill development is being affected by AI. So that's my big issue. And you're right, it does affect like um, relationships. I feel I've never felt angry at my students in my life ever. And I feel a little upset sometimes, you know,
Mm.
and I'm even considering bringing my fully online class back in person, like making it in person so I
Mhm.
can engage with them in person and really help them rather than hoping that I'm reaching them in the
Yeah.
online class, you know. So that's my experience.
Yeah, well, a lot of the things that I've read really talks about the importance of teaching them how to use AI and really expressing to them why it hurts their development, which I'm sure you've probably tried to do that, but helping them understand we're not just accusing you of plagiarism, we're actually trying to help you develop your thinking and all that, and really trying to teach them, good ways to use AI, helpful ways and unhelpful ways. But
Yeah, I'm
Kevin,
hoping that some other teachers are helping them how to use AI in a good way because I haven't done it.
I
yeah, I
thought the
don't think
same thing.
people are
Like,
doing it. I don't
yeah.
think so. A lot of people are like, don't use it, but then, it's coming in everywhere. Kevin.
So I have mixed opinions about this. My own teaching, my class is called How to Learn with Your Mobile Device. So I'm teaching students how to use technology to become better learners. But I have seen some of the same things that Jenny brings up. And when I have conversations in my discussion forums about AI, students have a variety of opinions as well. Language learner students will say that they feel that it levels the playing field for the first time because they know that there's a bias against them when they're using their English that's not as good as their peers or as employers want to see. And so I have a hard time telling them, don't use Grammarly to clean up your sentence. But because my course is writing intensive, I tell them, use it only after you've written your essay, because otherwise AI is stealing your voice. It is not it's not going to be your perspective on the world. It's not going to embed your experiences. And so that's why I specifically asked them to do things that AI can't do well. I asked them to incorporate lived experiences with and then connect it to class concepts, things like that, to make it harder for AI just to do the job for them. I also give them assignments that show them the value of the human perspective. And so I will have a peer review exercise for their papers, and then I'll say, use the same rubric that your peers did and ask AI to give you feedback. And notice that the feedback that AI gives you is very technical. You need to fix this paragraph, but notice how the peers usually give feedback about you're missing key ideas from the content or things like that. And so then they get to see kind of in real time, like there are valuable uses for this tool, but it can't be the only pathway. And I even put in my syllabus, I would rather have you ask for an extension, ask the teacher for extension, than ask AI to write your paper. And, you know, I think everybody in this room's got plenty to say.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to add, I know um, um, somebody is putting some interesting comments in the chat, but I found the same with students who have disabilities, who use AI to exactly that, even the playing field. So it is definitely something that, we need to figure out how to use. And I think I'll just pass on this little, I learned at another workshop where I think somebody was trying to, let's get students, introduce them to AI. And so she had them, gave them a more of an activity that said, pretend you are going to your best friend's wedding and you're going to give a toast. And they said, ask AI to write that toast for you, give it certain context, right, about your relationship with your friend, and then, bring it to class and we'll review it together. And in the classroom, they were looking, oh, and somebody said, that doesn't sound like me. And the teacher goes, exactly. When you turn in something in, I look at it and think, that doesn't sound like you either. And so, it's just kind of a little icebreaker, right? To kind of start looking at what the limitations are and how to use it perhaps in a way that doesn't supplant learning. But I know there's some hands up and would love to hear some examples about how to incorporate AI into instruction from others.
Jill.
Yeah, thank you. I was, as we're talking here, and then also seeing the chat about making AI part of the instruction by incorporating it in lessons. I'm curious what you all think about sort of standardized training for students and instructors in AI, which it could also include AI literacy as a baseline, so that when you get into individual classrooms, you can have different kinds of adaptation or development, or you're all speaking the same language. I don't know what you all think about that. To me, that's something that helps equity versus pulls away from it, but it doesn't seem to be something that institutions are, I don't know, striving for or prioritizing. But anyway, what are your thoughts about that? It just seems like that's a given to me, but maybe, I don't know. Anyway, putting it out
Well,
there.
some of the colleges and universities do seem to be giving more education, and I know that the Cal State system has invested a lot right now or recently in AI, and they're making it available to everyone. And I'm assuming that's going to include training, but kind of like what Jenny was saying, she hopes somebody is teaching them how to use it properly. But I agree that that would be a good idea to, I mean, each professor needs to also be able to decide how they're going to use it in their class and have their own policies and express that to students. But as far as how to use it, I think that would be valuable. I probably had a more negative view towards it myself until I started trying to do it myself. And the more I do it, this presentation was made with, this AI program called Gamma, and that's where some of these beautiful slides and pictures come from. And there's really a lot of benefits to it, but yeah, people do need to learn how to do it ethically. I actually did just do a really short lecture in my class today, but because I started seeing more students using AI in their assignments. And so then I decided to bring it into a discussion. I had actually told myself that I was going to do it at the beginning of the semester, but I still felt like I was learning about it and I wasn't sure exactly what to say to them myself. So now that I know more about it and they're starting to use it, I feel like it's a good time to introduce some ideas, but I do think it would be great if the colleges had that as part of the orientation and part of professional development. What do you think, Maria, or other people?
Well, Jim is making some comments. I don't know if you're in a place that you can unmute to chat.
Jim.
Jim, Julius.
Hi, sure. I'm happy to chat. Thanks for the invitation.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like I'm somebody who supports faculty with the use of technology and teaching online and that kind of thing. And in a lot of ways, a lot of this echoes a lot of what we in education have wrung our hands over for years, when computers were introduced, when internet was introduced, when Wikipedia was introduced, and on and on and on. And I do think there is something qualitatively different about AI that is going to make our collective ability in education to sort of say, wow, that's a big deal. I'm scared of it. I hope it goes away. Oh, I love it. It's awesome. And the whole spectrum, we see that every time with all of these things.
Mhm.
And collectively, as institutions, we don't do a whole lot to change. We just make little incremental updates. There are pioneers that do cool things. There are other folks that try to resist. As an institution, we just kind of keep doing what we're doing and make small changes. I think it's going to be harder and harder to have that kind of an approach with AI, because of a lot of the things that you mentioned that are just unavoidable impacts. And so I think we do risk as an industry, doing our students a huge disservice and making ourselves less and less relevant. I feel like educationally, philosophically, one of the things that people like Kevin, people like me, others that are in this space that have been sort of ed tech supporters who really understand how education works, it's about the student motivation and engagement piece. And at this moment, if our students aren't motivated to authentically engage and authentically learn, it is so easy for them to take shortcuts. And we're trying to figure out AI detection or integrate AI or redo assignments. And I think there's something more fundamental that we have to reconnect with as educators and as educational institutions. And that's motivating. And I think we've built systems like grades and all these other things that tend to demotivate students. They tend to focus on just get me through it so I get my thing. I don't really understand why I'm in this class, et cetera, et cetera. So sorry to get on a little soapbox, but I just feel like we can try to answer all these little questions, but there's still some really, really fundamental things that we've avoided answering that we should have answered 25 or 30 years ago when computers came into being, when internet came to being. We have to deal with them, or we're just going to keep struggling around the edges with these little questions. And it's really hard to do when we have educational institutions and systems that are built under a really old paradigm. Sorry for the soapbox, but you invited me to share, so I did.
No, thank you so much, Jim. I think that's so important. I teach history, right? So this idea of motivation and engagement can come from the reality that we're really on the cusp of an epical transformation, right? People keep saying, this technology or AI is like the discovery of fire. Well, that changed everything. And for our students to be empowered and motivated, right, was engaged in crafting this new world that is possible, that is coming with this technology, I think is an incredible motivation, right? We haven't had, this, and I know it's disrupting and unstable, but again, history, that's how it happens, right? Something is destroyed and a new thing comes out. And if we could really explain that to students, I think they would be very motivated, right? And very engaged in being the architects of this new world. If we can, give them the tools, both technological and intellectual tools, to do it, because they're going to have to do it one way or another. It's just, is it going to end up, in a positive way, or is it going to happen to them, right? And just land on them. So thank you. I really, really am excited by the way you phrased all of that.
Are there any, Jim, you're not an instructor, or are you an instructor?
So I'm a faculty member, but non-classroom. So I work supporting all things with our online education at Miracosta College. So I'm involved with faculty, but I don't have immediate classroom responsibilities other than teaching student success workshops for students who are taking online classes.
Yeah, so I'm really wondering if any of the people who are classroom teachers are incorporating AI, and maybe Maha's gonna talk about that, because, yeah, that's what has to happen either at the university or college level or at the classroom level, et cetera. Ms. Maha.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to piggyback of what Jim was saying earlier about motivation. We have to put it within context, is that we have always, for the longest time, we keep telling students, you are in college to get a degree and you're transferring, therefore you want to get an A. If you don't get 4.0, you're not going to UC Berkeley or the UC system. So just kill yourself and listen to what I tell you to do so I can give you that A and you can move on. And now they have the power with AI. And so when we talk about motivation, we're talking about changing that concept from I got to get an A and get out of here to I am here because I want to learn and I want to advance my knowledge. That's what we mean by motivation. And we're just gonna have to be true to ourselves and acknowledge that we're the one who have implanted those ideas on our students. And now we have to figure out a way to unplant them and use maybe the Socratic method where they come in motivated to learn something because that is going to help them and excited to discover new things, which is going to require us to totally shift the way we teach. There is no banking system anymore. There is the Socratic method of sitting down, exploring, making mistakes, making a mess, and learning, and not focusing on just let me do the assignment so I can get the grade. The other thing when it comes to AI, making it part of the lesson, we just have to face the truth. It's here, it's not going anywhere. So just like we incorporated Canvas when we went online and had to learn how to use Canvas, we're going to have to learn how to use AI in the classroom every day with the students as a way of exploring how to use it rather than being scared of it. Because so far, on almost all the, whether it's webinars, conferences, or any conversation we have when it comes to AI, everybody's coming from a point of fear. I don't like AI. I don't know how to do the lessons. Now I have to worry about them plagiarizing. How do I handle all this craziness of plagiarism? That's what the conversation is. I don't see conversation about, so how do I incorporate it so it's going to be fun and motivating for the students? How do I incorporate it so that students feel empowered and go on and learn from it and use it properly? That's where the conversation should be, not how do we stop students, because we're not. They don't know how to do things, they're going to go to AI. And that's the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you. That's true. Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea.
Hello. Thank you so much for this discussion. I did a Socratic seminar in class today, and it just felt so good to just for 1 hour be in a circle with the students and hear them wrestling with ideas in the book, the twists and the turns that it took, the teamwork. It made me think about all the soft skills that we are developing in the classroom space and how those are the skills that we need to keep cultivating and that we can't do, that AI cannot help us do. It's the relational skills, right? That is what's motivating. And I think what's motivating the students, I do see much more AI usage online, Jenny, than in my hybrid or fully in-person classes, because we are able to kind of get into the nuances more. There's just a little bit more time to delve into what AI is, how it can serve us, how not, like it can kind of be an addition to an assignment that we're working on, and that it doesn't require like an entire page of the case. Like everybody, I'm not quite sure how to explain it, but anyways, it just can come up more casually. Whereas in online, I think asynchronously, everything has to be really plotted out. And sometimes it's a little awkward how we fit it in there. So it's just come up more organically in the face-to-face classes, hasn't been as much of an issue, but that's my experience. And yeah, I felt like the students were really motivated just by being in that space with each other, relating that way. And that's hard to replicate. It's hard to replicate online, and AI cannot do that for us.
That's beautiful. Chelsea, what do you teach?
I also teach English for speakers of other languages.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing is we have so much to cover. It's so hard to add AI instruction in. So I really like Jill's point about having some AI literacy for students somehow prior, or just like and I'm professional development co-coordinator too. So I need to be thinking about how my role in that aspect.
Yes. I wanted to say that, thank you for sharing that. And I love that idea of, getting in a circle and doing that Socratic method. I have used AI to help me create engaging, interesting assignments. And it has been wonderful for me. Like it's often, I've been trained mostly as a lecturer. And so, and since I've come to the community college, they really talk a lot about how engagement, and I know you have to try to motivate the students. So like I've come up, AI, me and Claude have come up with some assignments that are like really fun. They're group assignments. So now I've always wanted, okay, every class, I'm going to make sure I have at least one group activity, but it's harder to make it up yourself or to look through real books for it. And I can say, I want to have a fun activity that is relates to students from diverse, like I give it a long prompt. I give it a very long and specific prompt. And it comes up like it came up with this activity around the growth mindset that was amazing for the students. And I think I'm going to be able to use it throughout the whole semester. But I will just say that in my experience, I've found ways that AI can help me be more motivating with the students, be more personable with the students, try to have activities that they can relate to amazingly. The robot has helped me relate to the students better sometimes. Just with activities, like it's amazing. Like you just tell it, I can say, make 5 different activities and it will in 2 minutes, 2 seconds. And then you look at it and some of them you like and some of them you don't. And yeah, it's been really cool for me. And I set out trying to have a paper that was going to incorporate AI, but it just got a little overwhelming for me, like exactly how to do it. And I'm still going to develop my intention is to develop some type of rubric related to, I want them to feel they can tell me how they're using AI, not just sneak and use it in a way that supplants their learning. I want them to be able to say, as someone else said, first I took a draft and then I asked AI to do this for it, and then I redid it, and then whatever, like I want them to be able to describe that process and not feel embarrassed about it, and also learn how to do it properly. But that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And I do feel like it's like there's no stopping it, really. I mean, I do feel it's kind of like a calculator, like or the internet, when it first came out, like, no, they're not gonna learn anything. But I mean, I have seen it also interfere with learning totally. So I really want to figure out how to motivate the students to use it in a way that increases their learning rather than replaces it. Has anybody else used it for, now this, I haven't tried to do this yet, but the book by Jose Bowen, probably you guys have read it. It's called AI and Teaching, or Teaching with AI. And it's, he talks about you can make rubrics, have AI help you create a rubric. And rubrics are one of the hardest things for me to do. It takes a really long time. Now, I don't expect that AI is going to be able to do it great the first time, but it's going to reduce my workload, and rubrics are really helpful. So right now I don't have a rubric for every single assignment, even though that's kind of recommended. So does anyone else use AI in that kind of a way, like to help you teach? We've talked about it more as what the students are doing, but have any of you used it as an instructor? I recommend it. It's great. What do you all think about the private ownership, public ownership? Do you have any thoughts about that? You think it would be different if it was still mainly being developed in the colleges or university, or would it be worse? Would it be better? Maha.
Yeah, just to answer your question, yes, I do use AI in preparing assignments for students and activities, and I make sure that they know that this was AI generated, so that they realize that it is how it was created, so they get inspired to be more creative. But also, I do allow students to use AI to generate ideas, do research, and help with their writing and whatnot. But I require them to indicate that they use AI, how they use AI, and what prompt did they enter in order to get the results that they did, and to cite it. So that's what I've tried to normalize it in a sense that I don't want to feel, I don't want them to, I know they're going to use AI, but I don't want to feel like they have to sneak around using it. And so by me talking about it, and we practice it in class, and we have a guideline set up for them, they feel more comfortable. And when I say, wow, that sounds like an AI generated, they say, yes, it is AI generated, because they know they're not going to be punished. And so that is the policy that I use in the classroom. Thank you.
Wow, that's great. Is your to call on Jim, but is your policy in your syllabus, or do you explain it to them, or both?
Oh, no, it's in the syllabus. With examples of what is plagiarized and what is not plagiarized, with consequences of what's going to happen if they plagiarize, including the points that they will lose if they plagiarize. So it's very clear from the beginning.
Wow. I would love to ask you to, if I could look at your syllabus. I'll put a question in the chat. Jim.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm hugely worried about corporate control of these technologies. I again, I have kind of a soapbox on it, but I'll keep it simple. But I'm going to put a link in the chat that I would encourage people to read. It's an incredible article by Rua Benjamin that's very much kind of a critical, deep dive into who are these people that are creating the AI tools, who are the people behind these corporations, what are their values, what are they doing? And I think it's just so unfortunate that we have arrived at this generative AI moment thinking that generative AI means these giant LLM models that are controlled by a few corporations that then have control over the data. And it's another aspect of the digital divide that students that don't have the money to pay for a premium model end up using models where, you know, their own personal data may get sucked into it. And, you know, that's just the tip of the iceberg with the way that these models can reproduce bias and so on. And I just think, wouldn't it have, you know, in a parallel universe, couldn't that history that you gave, what if our higher education and our government sectors had continued to be leading the way in developing these models, and we developed models that were appropriate for an educational environment, that were sized in a way that didn't require such incredible environmental resources to train, but still serve the purposes that we want with the power that they provide? It would have been amazing. Anyway, the genie's out of the bottle, and we can't put it back. But I think, you know, putting on my sort of critical subversion hat, it's like, okay, well, we have to teach students to understand these companies are not our friends. They're not benevolent providers of this technology just to be nice and to help advance society. They're out there to make money. They make money by collecting our data and reusing it in ways that aren't helpful. And they reproduce bias in ways that, if you're not careful, it's by participating in those systems, we're not helping advance equity and what the social justice we want to see in the world. So that has to be part of the training that we provide, the ethics, the critical theory. And I fully believe you can turn those tools on their head and make them serve the purposes we want to serve, but it doesn't happen without a lot of really careful training and critical awareness about it all. So I wish it could be different, but that's the world we're in at this point. And I mean, if you just look at politics and you look at who are the people in control of these companies and where they're standing right now with what's happening around the political scene, it's enough to keep me up at night going, what are we doing? Why are we even inviting this into our house? But and on the other hand, I don't think we have a choice. So we just have to do as much as we can to educate people and be critical about it.
What are people's reactions to that? Or Maria, did you want to say anything, or what do you all think about what Jim said? Have you thought about that, or anything else you'd like to talk about?
I guess, you know, hearing the comment makes me think of, you know, again, I'm a history person. So one of my favorite historians, Howard Zinn, said, you can't be neutral on a moving train, and this train is moving. So I think we are going to have to figure something out because the world is changing. You know, when you have the tremendous inequality that we see today in society, it's actually very dangerous. The gutting of the middle class. It's not just unfortunate. Again, history teaches us, you know, when you look at things that we haven't had a big thing, maybe since the 60s, and that most of that was people trying to get in, right, get a seat at the table. But today the whole table is wobbly, so it's going to be a very different, you know, period of political struggle that we haven't seen in this country till, you know, since probably the era right before the Civil War. It's not just my opinion, but a lot of social scientists are, you know, really cautioning about what is actually happening, right? You know, they were, and not just a bad president or bad ideas. We're talking about a transformation of the state, right? The transformation of, you know, a democracy into something else. And nobody wants to say that out loud because we don't want it to be true. We think that if we just, you know, elect the right person, it'll be okay. But I think it goes way deeper than that. So. And that technology is at the center of this transformation, as it has been during the Industrial Revolution and the Agricultural Revolution. But these are big things, big scary things.
Well, we have a couple minutes left to look for that one ray of sunshine, that ray of hope that Marx was talking about. I think he called it cultural hope. I forget. The culture of hope. Marx, if you're still here, let us know. But are there any, Kimberly, Maria, Elena, do you have any, you know, closing thoughts that you want to share with us? You know, kind of synthesizing all the different thoughts that people have shared as this discussion. Just want to give you kind of the last word since you have really engaged us in a really thoughtful conversation.
Well, thank you. I just think that we have to continue the conversation, that we need more spaces where we can meet each other. I thought the way this conference was laid out was so wonderful with the 3 different days with different intentions and that build on each other. So I'm just really grateful that we had an opportunity to be together, to pose the questions. And I would really like for there to be a way to continue the discussion, as Chelsea pointed out. You know, it seems like we have a lot to talk about and we need to have a lot of this. Obviously, our workloads is really heavy, so it makes this very difficult and slower than we'd like it to be, as Jim pointed out. So I don't know, can't get into contractual issues, but we need to find a way to continue the conversation and to put, you know, really fight for that time that we need to make sense of this thing. I think somebody said it should be like COVID. This is not a little thing. This is a big thing. We need to stop and think and rework these. But it's like, you know, putting the airplane together while it's in the air is very stressful and, you know, dangerous. We might crash, right? So I want to just say thank you. And that I have all the hope in the world, right? That we will figure out a way. I think somebody said, put this up right side up, right? With this technology, because it's not going anywhere. So we'll have to figure out a way to make it equitable and just for all of us. So I'm grateful for the space to engage in concrete and abstract thinking and sharing.
And if anyone would like to, you know, have more contact, we're going to continue to do this kind of research. We have a presentation at
Oh.
Kimberly, we lost your audio.
Oh, she was saying we're presenting at NCORE, a conference in New York in May. So we're very interested as educators and as social scientists. I don't know, where did she go? I don't want to step in on her, but yeah, so stay in touch with us, and maybe we can again form more networks that can continue this work and this discussion in between these conferences.
Well,
Thank you,
and
Kevin.
what I can say as the organizer of this conference, which we designed to be, as you said, kind of scaffolded so that we build on the different ways of learning and engaging, but also it's designed to be free and virtual so that as many people can participate as possible. And so I think that we can, I don't like volunteering to give myself more work, but I don't mind like creating Google Docs or spaces where we can asynchronously share ideas. Zoom, we can do another conversation. We don't have to wait for a full year to keep this conversation going. So maybe for people who are interested, send a note to equity@peralta.edu and let us know if you're interested in continuing the conversation and we'll figure it out. I'll ask AI.
Super. Thank you, everybody, for the wonderful feedback.
All right, and as Jenny put it in the chat, we are recording all these sessions, so we're glad that everybody contributed so much to this conversation. We'll be back again tomorrow for day 3, which is build, which means we're going to be doing workshops so that you can take some of these ideas you've been learning about and then talking about to actually put it into practice in your own classes or with your students or with the instructors that you serve, like Jim. So we hope we'll see you tomorrow starting at 8 a.m. We got another full day, and if you have work to do, they'll all be recorded and we'll catch you on the other side. But again, gratitude all around, and we hope that everybody has a fantastic day. Kimberly and Maria Elena, this was a truly wonderful session, a great way to end the day. Thank you.
I'll end the